at the opening of this renovated theater, and it was after Geo had been played. We were across the street, and I go up to introduce myself to him, and the first thing he does is grab my wrist and says, "Those are really nice cufflinks." I hope these are okay for you tonight, so anyway. As far as agreeing to speak, unlike my sister Melanie, I was asked and agreed right away, and I said yes, absolutely. And the next day I woke up, I said, what was I thinking? So, please bear with me. So, first off, I'd like to obviously thank everybody for coming here today. This is absolutely incredible. And these are going to be hard footsteps to follow in. As far as my dad is concerned, you guys did great today as well. I'll start off by saying I do not quite possess the same oratorical gift that my father had, and most of you in this room can obviously testify to the fact that public speaking was one of his many gifts, and with little effort he could instantly take control of a room with his words, and they were his words as well. He insisted on writing his own everything, if you will. Music, poetry, speeches, stacks and stacks of journals. Even a book that he had been working on for the last 10 or 15 years. I wish I could tell you what this book was actually about, but I've never read it. And the only part of it I can share is a chapter about two homeless men fighting over a potato in the street. And believe it or not, when I asked him about it years ago, he claims to have actually witnessed this altercation outside of a halfway house in San Pedro, California, where my sisters and I grew up. The chapter of this book that retold this particular tale was simply titled Death by Potato. And that is a phrase that I will remember for the rest of my life. Unfortunately, obviously, the book was never completed. I'm not sure why either. My guess would be that he was his own biggest critic and found it difficult to be fully satisfied with his own creations. I believe that desire for perfection played a large part in my father's ability to complete so much in his life. A life that ended obviously much too early. My father was truly a machine, an assembly line of accomplishment, if you will. He held himself to such a strict morning regimen, as my sisters have told you, setting up the coffee machine the night before, obviously, and as well as having a cup of green tea ready to heat up whenever the mood would strike him. Every morning since I was born, and obviously long before that, he was up at 4 or 5 in the morning, no joke, every single day. And every morning he would spend anywhere from also, no joke, 3 to 5 hours reading and writing. And I always wondered what he was actually reading and writing about. And going through one of his journals that I randomly came across, I found a page that I instantly knew exactly what it was. It was just 6 words in a column, and it said, yoga/exercise, spiritual, Shakespeare, reading, writing. And I knew that is what he'd been doing every single morning. And unfortunately, the yoga and exercise had to stop for obvious reasons a few years back, but he never stopped exercising his mind, ever. That's why the couple of weeks leading up to his passing, when he stopped spending his mornings as he had for decades before, we knew what that ultimately meant. And I want to point out that there is someone here today, as my sisters and Ralph has mentioned, who in a sense we are also celebrating. Absolutely none of what my father has achieved in his life would have been remotely possible if it weren't for the presence of my mother at his side for the last 42 years of their marriage. She's been the driving force in our family and will continue to be for many years to come. I would like to finish by talking also about pizza night. It was that popular, and this is a night that shall forever remain sacred in the Lowry family. My dad's homemade pizza, as you have also heard, is the stuff of legend. Not just the pizza itself, but how it brought people together. It seems like everything he did brought people together, as I can see here tonight, as a culmination of all of that. When I was much younger growing up in San Pedro, as was described every Friday night, our family and friends who are here tonight would come over and enjoy not just food, but more importantly, the company. The laughter, the joy, and the emotion that encompassed those nights, it was really quite something special. On that note, I would like to end with a line of from one of my dad's many journals. And you have to bear in mind that as we go through these journals, which is going to take a while, a lot of it is personal and incredibly meaningful and will remain within the confines of Lowry brains only, I'm sorry to say. However, this line that I found, it really stood out because it was incredibly meaningful to me, and I know it was actually incredibly meaningful to him. And you all, I do think, deserve to hear it, because it's quite special. And it does refer to one of the many pizza nights we had the morning after. And I quote, "I may have overdone the crust last night."